All right, ladies and joims, welcome back to the Rick Chappell podcast. It's been a couple of weeks. I took what you could describe as a break, I guess. I don't know, I had all this new stuff planned for season 2, and we're still just doing the same thing as season 1. So all the other things will still come, the theme songs, the emails to write in, all that fun stuff. But hey, let's just get back to making episodes. I'm Rick Chappell, you're here. And the guitar of the week this time is my 2014 Gibson Les Paul Standard that I have been loving this past month. And we're going to talk all about how it's finally left the house and done some gigs. Well, rehearsals, and a fundraiser we're going to talk all about. But we got to start off with comments because they have piled up. And that's not good. So let's get right into it, man. I took a break to learn a bunch of songs and play a bunch of songs at a fundraiser. So that was really fun. And we raised a bunch of funds. So that is a success. But anyways, I'm talking to avoid the comments that I can't find just yet. Ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. Okay, it's been a hot minute, so we got to go back a couple weeks here. There's not too many, though, so don't worry, you're not in for too long. Awesome pedal, but I stayed for Kevin the cat. That's on my IR200 review. Thank you. Kevin is here. She is hiding, but she's right there. She'll pop up at some point and wake up and be a cute kitten for you all. Next up, can't wait to get my IR2. That's the Boss IR2 pedal. And yeah, it'll be amazing. I reviewed that thing and loved it. Sorry, I'm still fighting that cold a little bit, and then I sang a bunch of songs at that fundraiser, so my throat is a mess. But the IR2 was so good, it sold out pretty much everywhere, it seems. So, I have a bunch of the silly effects on the microphone. I always forget about that. I was singing, which is another reason my voice is a little shot. I've got a new ambient patch set up on the guitar, too, to try to avoid like the ping pong of playing guitar, you know, because as fun as that is, that gets really messy in the echo. So I got my echo dialed in for a whole new thing. Next up, good old Samantha. It's my favorite song from Black Tie Affair. The versatility of your voice is a charm, I must tell you again. Thank you. Thank you for your music. Your work deserves more diffusion. I don't know what you mean by diffusion, but thank you. That was on my video where we're recording the vocals for my song Light Strides. That song I worked on for a while. I wrote it during the time I spent in the Devin Townsend Creative Academy. It was like this online university thing he put on. It was really cool. I think I talked about it a bunch in a past episode. But it's still out there. You can still sign up for it and see all the lectures and stuff and learn a bunch. I was recording a bunch of music myself growing up. And then I had a big brain injury and all this kind of stuff. And I kind of got out of it a little bit. And then I signed up for all that. And it was a good way to kind of relearn a bunch of the stuff I sort of already knew. And then obviously learn a bunch of new stuff too. So that was a great program. And during that time, I wrote the song Light Strides. It's on my last album, Black Tie Affair. It's probably one of the most Devin Townsend sounding songs on that album. The whole thing kind of has that vibe a bit, but writing it during the time you're listening to him talk about songwriting a bunch, it's kind of inevitable. It's going to seep in there, you know? And then I took forever to record the vocals. That's why I have the video, I just procrastinated, and then I had a bunch of this dental stuff happen that meant that, like, my voice just wasn't where I wanted it to be, like for, you know, pronouncing words and stuff. Like I was just, I was missing a bunch of teeth during the pandemic. It was a whole thing, you know? And finally that all settled. And then I had a roommate at the time, and him and I set up just a studio worth of stuff in our living room, like his iMac, new little audio interface he grabbed, one of those, you know, Universal Audio Volts, my 7B, and then a pair of monitors, and then our headphones, you know, out in the living room. And then I had the video lights, so we're like, yeah, I may as well light it up here. And then we recorded the vocals for that song, so I filmed it. and then threw it on YouTube months and months and months later. I filmed tons of the making of the new album that I'm doing. Like, I have footage of me recording a bunch of the guitars and a bunch of the basses, so I'll be able to have hopefully like music videos for these things that are live in the studio, but are like the real takes. Like, if you see the video of me recording bass, I haven't edited it, it sounds fine, and I have it on camera too. So I think this record will have a good amount of video content. The next comment is all in German. I've been to Germany, but I never learned a word. I have read it translated before though, so from what memory serves me correct, it's on my Burn It to the Ground Nickelback cover, which is a ripping song. And it said something like, great job, you sound like Marilyn Manson doing Nickelback, but it's still really good. And I guess so. I don't know, I've never been a big Marilyn Manson fan, but that's cool. Thank you. And then the next one is, I really enjoyed your playing. I especially liked your Eric Johnson tones. God bless. Thank you. That's from Brian Valuton. Louis Vuitton, man. You got a fancy sounding name. That was just 6 hours ago. Thanks, man. That was on my Fender Tone Master review. So that's a killer product. I think it's one update away from being like just game changing, because how many people are going to buy it at the price point it's at, and the fact that Fender, has the market share they do, it'll be great. But it just needs one update, I think, to like include some more bass tones, and just like all these things inevitably get a version 2.0. And if you have the one already, it sounds great. But I think once it has bass, and then inevitably they'll make a couple little tweaks, I'm sure, it'll really jump up. And the nice thing with these digital things is, for the most part, for a while, for a few years at least, as they get better, you just plug it into your computer and update it, and it gets better. You don't have to buy a new one every year or anything. In a couple years, they'll make a new one. It'll be better. It'll have some fancier new bells and whistles. And eventually the one you own does get obsolete. But I'm rocking the Axe-FX 2 XL Plus, I guess is the technical name for it. It's old. I haven't updated it in years. Guess what? It still sounds exactly the same. And if you don't read the marketing, it's still good. So maybe I'll get an Axe-FX 3 one day if this thing actually eats it, but I really hope it doesn't. That's part of why I love the Axe-FX. It's because it doesn't break, right? At least that's the goal. I've got the ambient set up way better, I think, this time. I've got it on a foot pedal so that I can do the swells. And then it's running into the DL4 and then this tape echo on my desk again. So I can really, like, saturate it up. Or not. And there's even fancy buttons to do, like, feedback. Ambient music, yo. Infinite echo guitar. That's the dream. That's always the dream, right? Let's tell a story about this guitar, because that's how this podcast started, was a story about every guitar I own. I have told this one before, because I played this guitar on this podcast. But I bought this thing not really when I could afford it so much, which is a pattern, But I had the opportunity because I had just sold the vehicle I was driving. Let's put it that way. I had a pickup truck, just a little Ford Ranger. And I sold it, and I was on my way home from like the bank, from depositing the money essentially. And I stopped at Long McQuaid long before I worked there in 2014 when this thing was new. And this was hanging like right dead center on the fancy middle wall, and I was like, it's beautiful. Got to play it, and it played amazing, and I was like, oh, Depp. And now I have it, and I've had it ever since. I hid it under my bed from my mother and girlfriend for probably a good 3 months from one of them, and maybe 5 months from the other. And they both wigged out essentially when they found out what it was. But hey, It's amazing, and I'm going to keep it forever. It was also stolen from me at one point, or there was an attempted robbery, I should say. I've told that story too. My house was broken into years and years and years ago, different place. And a couple guitars got stolen, like straight up. But this one got left in the front yard, so they stole it and dropped it, essentially. So, woot woot. Thanks for being stupid, you... I'm 10 minutes in, I can swear. Thanks for being stupid, you fucking idiots. You're allowed to swear at people that rob you. They're scum. Anyways. The reason I'm playing this guitar this week is because I played it at this fundraiser I've been talking about. So let's tell the story about that. For those of you familiar with the band Faber Drive, they were a somewhat popular radio rock band there in maybe the 2010s or so, I think was kind of when they had a couple other hits the most. They were doing this fundraiser. There was a bunch of people just essentially getting up to jam to raise money for a friend of theirs with a terminal illness, maybe. So, hey, it was a good thing to do, you know? And anyways, so we did that, and it was amazing. Everybody had a ton of fun. It went great. And we raised like $25,000, I think, like just an insane amount. Like it was such a great experience all around, you know? And I donated a bunch of my time and my ability to play music, because that's what I can do, at least, right? So all the musicians did that, essentially. And yeah, we put on a show that went really well. I played a couple songs, a bunch of it I didn't, obviously. We all took turns, you know? And what did I do? I wrote it down here so I wouldn't forget. I played a bunch of Nirvana songs on bass and totally threw out my back. I have some footage. Maybe I'll cut it into the podcast now. Here you go. I can't see it now, but it's in the corner. That's Rick going bananas. Thanks, Keith, for sending this in. Look at that guy. Silly goose, him. I played this guitar, some solo-y things. I did Every Rose Has Its Thorn, which I have footage of. Marty, look at this. Look at this professional level of slightly prepared if he actually remembers to edit this in. There you go. Here, listen, I'll take it away, Rick. Okay. I don't know how I'm actually going to cut that all together. But it was a ton of fun overall. And then nobody got video, at least to me, just yet. If you have it, I'd love to see it. But at the end of the night, one of the rehearsals, I was like, we were all saying goodbye kind of thing. And there was a guy playing acoustic guitar up on stage, and he was done this thing, and like I said, it was kind of over, and I just grabbed it and was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I just feel like playing a song real quick. So I played Kiss by Prince, like just in an acoustic way. By the end of it, there was a drummer and a bass player and everybody jamming along. And then they were like, dude, you got to do that at the fundraiser. So I did. That was really fun. It's wild to try to hit those like sonic high notes at the end, but I think I did it somewhat successfully, judging by their feedback, so woo. And then I also I wouldn't have picked this song necessarily because I just wouldn't have thought of it, but I played lead and sang Lenny Kravitz's Are You Gonna Go My Way, because I was invited to this jam to back up somebody who ended up not being able to make it. So the band had learned it and then they couldn't make it. I was like, well, I can sing it because the guitar and the vocals line up in a way like that. That's just how it goes. You know what I mean? He plays guitar and sings. I'll do that. And that went really well too. So, hey. And then by the end of the night, of course, anytime that like I'm singing in a jam scenario and it goes well and my voice is like, you know, on my side, it's just inevitable that somebody would be like, let's do Led Zeppelin. Let's do yada yada. Let's do Aerosmith. Let's do all this. So we did like Sweet Emotion and Walk This Way and, Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, I think, was the grand finale. And by that point, like, oh, I can only hit those wow so many times. So that's the end of the night song, you know? That, or back when I was in like bar bands, we used to end the night with Dream On, because that was the one where I'd just be like, okay, even if my voice isn't in check, I'll scream these notes. And it'll go over well with the drunk bar crew. So that was always my ace in the hole. And it did. It always did. We played some New Year's parties, some birthdays, all those kinds of things, you know. The small town gigs that the people who play Brown Eyed Girl for a living play, you know. I could never hear that song again and I'd be fine. It's a beautiful song, but sha-la la 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 ba da dee da can go fuck itself. Sorry. I'm just over that. I'm so over that. Even the band that played that night, because they always do. It's a great song. The audience loves it. It's just I think musicians are sick of it from playing it so many times. They did a great job. But even during rehearsals, we're like, no more. We've heard it. We know you can do it. You're going to nail it. It's a great song. Okay, now I'm going to tell a work story that I hope doesn't get me in trouble, because it's just a work story about me doing my job to the best of my ability and a customer being super weird. So that's how we frame this one. I work at a music store. We all know that by now. And I do my best to help people buy guitars and guitar accessories and these type of things, you know? So the other day, a gentleman walks in, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? What can I do for you, kind of thing? He's like, looking for guitar strings. I'm like, right over here, man. So I lead him over there, and I'm like, what kind of guitar we got? Like, electric, acoustic? And he's like, doesn't matter, all the same. And I'm just like, what? No, not really, you know, like electric, acoustic, like, is this for yourself? Is it for somebody else? You know, I'm just like trying to figure out kind of what you mean. And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. You know, they're all good. You ask a lot of questions. It's fine. And I'm like, okay, like just trying to help. And then he's like, oh, I don't have my glasses. And then I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, if you would just talk to me and tell me what you want, I'll just get it for you. Like, I'm here to help you. So he leaves without buying anything. And all my coworkers are there to see it. So as soon as he's gone, we're all like, what was that? That was odd, but whatever. And then a couple days later, a guy comes in. Turns out it's the same guy, but I didn't put that together for a while. And he goes right for the acoustic guitar strings. And same thing, I'm just like, hey, how's it going, man? Anything I can do for you today? Heads over to the guitar strings. I'm like, okay. So I kind of head over there. I'm like, do you know what you're after? Kind of thing. You look like you're on a mission. Nothing. He just treats me like I'm a ghost. And now we are in a bad neighborhood, and I don't recognize the man yet. I haven't put together it's the same guy from before at all. So when somebody comes in and goes right for something that's stealable, you kind of got to watch a little bit too. So I'm keeping my distance, but I'm just kind of like, hey, I'm trying to help you. And then he kind of like, he's made it clear he wants no interaction with me. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go to the counter maybe, and I'll beep him through or whatever. But as I'm kind of headed to the counter, he gets the pack of strings he wants and goes to the counter and goes to somebody else. I'm like, okay, well, I'll open the door. Like, I'm still doing my, like, it's so, there's nobody else in the store. It's dead. So I go to the front door. I'm like, well, I'll open the door for him. And then he's at the till, and he's like, that guy hates it when you don't talk to him. And my coworker's like, oh, I guess so. I don't know what that's about. Okay. And then, like, I'm just like, what the hell? Like, I'm just trying to do my job. And then instead of going up the door, he goes into the other room in our store. And then I talk to my coworker. I'm like, did he say what I think he said? He's like, yeah, that was weird. And at this point, I've put together, it's the same guy. I'm like, oh, this is probably that guy from before. Like, okay, I still don't remember, like, anything being weird. Like, I've been nice to this guy the whole time. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So then I go into the other room that he's gone into, and I'm like, excuse me, sir. Like, I don't know if I've upset you or bothered you in any way. Like, I don't know what's kind of going on. And then he just, like, looks right past me and heads out the door. And he's like, see you guys, have a good one, to everybody else. And I'm just like, what the fuck? So that happened. It was just weird. Just a weird interaction with a, I don't know if he's a grumpy old man, or at one point I thought he was just a hard of hearing old man, or what kind of old man that old man was, but that was some kind of old man. Abbotsford, man, it's full of fucking weirdos. There you go. There's your working in retail story for the week. We're blowing through the stuff here. I didn't write down the full list to like 10 things. I think season 2 of the podcast will be like half-hour episodes. We're going to see if we can get them a little more refined, you know? And I do have the synth fired up too. I can't forget that. We've got the infinite Korg mini log setup. Ambience, man. I'm falling in love with doing this instead of music. Not that it's not music, I guess. But I've got this album that I've been working on here, talking about the entire time I've been recording the podcast. And I got to record the vocals for it, which is like the least ambient part. And I've just been procrastinating. I also got super sick, though. And then I definitely had to get over that. So, hey, I think after singing all those songs live, we've kind of kicked all the phlegm out of the spots that accumulated. So now I have no excuse. Oh, hello, kitty cat. Meow. The distractions. There's my excuse. I don't record vocals because I have a distracting kitty cat. Now, they actually don't mind. It's funny. The cats I've always had, like I've had one since I was a little kid, essentially, over the years, right? And I've played music forever, too, basically. So they get just so accustomed to it. Like I had one that got super deaf eventually, and then she would like sleep on my guitar amp because it was warm, which makes logical sense until you realize she would also do that like during practice when it was on, and like I'm wearing earplugs because there's a drummer we're competing with. You know what I mean? Like this was back when I had rehearsal at my house, and it was what an adorable little kitty cat. She was the band kitty for so long there, but good old Sadie, man. That cat lived to 21 or 20. Like at least 20. I know that based off of photographic evidence. But I don't know. She could have been 22 even by a day. That I really am not sure of. She passed away, that kitty cat, the second or third, like very early on in January of 2020, which really set the mood for that year. If you catch my drift, man. Wasn't that a time we all had? What a great run. But no, what an adorable kitty cat. But now we have Nookie, who I've had for the last, coming up on 15 years now, I think. And Kevin, the sleepy kitten, who is really cute for me to look at right now, but is not coming out to play on camera. And Nookie's making noise like there's not a full bowl of food and a full bowl of water. But I know there's both, because I do that before I do this. Because otherwise, they'll do a whole bunch of noises. And that gets in the way of everything. Especially everything, including microphones. But yeah, so anyways, I took the break of the podcast there to learn all these songs. Like I played the 3 Nirvana songs. I played Ozzy Osbourne, Crazy Train, and then I think we did War Pigs at one point. I don't know, there was just a jam of a whole bunch of things. So I had to learn a bunch of that. But it was really fun, is the main point of that whole thing. What other projects can I update you on? The Cult of Personality still needs to be mastered. And then I need to finish the video element of that. And then that'll hit YouTube soon. So I promise it will happen one day. I've told so many people about it, even in my personal life. So now it's just like almost embarrassing that I haven't finished it. And it's hilarious. I've been playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas a bunch too, because it came out on the Netflix gaming thing that's like free if you have Netflix. So I've been playing the crap out of. So much so that I finally had to buy batteries today for my controller. Anyways, in San Andreas is the Cult of Personality. Like that song plays a bunch of times when you're in the stores and playing a bunch of the races and stuff. So I'm like, I know, universe, I need to finish this song. The new ambient patch I built up is the same one as before, honestly. I just moved the volume pedal to, instead of be doing a auxiliary type of thing, it's now just doing an overall swell. So I can control how much I feed the big crazy goop I've designed. And so far, the only thing I've done with the big crazy goop is the podcast. But I have a plan to try to do a thing to make like at least a half-hour long piece without me blabbing. Like a little ambient guitar thing that I might put a little bit of synth on or something tomorrow. And I think I'll record it in a way that'll make it fun to do. And yeah, I don't know if I'll release it like on streaming or anything. I'll put it on YouTube because I put everything on YouTube eventually. But I'm going to try to make some ambient music. Let's put it that way. It'll be guitar related at first. And I don't think I'll film it. Maybe I will. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I'm going to make it yet because I haven't made it. But there you go. I also keep talking about and am 100% planning to bring back the Song in a Day live stream thing, because that was a great way to write some songs that are on the new album and I've continued to work on, and some songs that suck, but at least you get to see how that goes. And there's a couple songs, at least one I can remember off the top of my head, that is a good song, but during that recording I'm not doing a great job. So it just goes to show that we're all human and some of these things don't always go great. But still, the song is good, so I might still finish that one and put it on a future disc. There's so many songs rolling around. I've even got a little chord shape. I haven't been writing much, but you inevitably write a couple things when you work in a guitar store and pick up guitars all day. I tend to pluck away melodies and chords that eventually stick with me. And a good sign is if any one of my coworkers is like, "Oh, what's that?" Because that means they think it's somebody like who is famous or good. And then I'm like, "Oh, that's me." And they're like, "Oh, you should do something with that." I'm like, "Gonna, because you said so." That's one of the best things about working at the music store, is just the other musicians you happen to be around, like customers and, coworkers, obviously. Everybody knows how to play or, has good ears. So you can bounce ideas off of people and whatnot. It's just a perpetual musical environment. Maybe a bunch of steps, obviously, below like a recording studio. But not as many steps as you might think nowadays, just because I think those places are so few and far between. It's a bunch of home studio guys like myself and the majority of my customers and my coworkers. A couple of us have been in bands that have recorded at studios. I have done like a tiny little contribution, maybe, that I've always recorded at home, but it's been a part of studio things, you could say. But some of the guys do have to, get their bands recorded at places that have enough microphones and places to record drums. And that's super rad for them. It's so good that those places still exist. But the home studio world has definitely created a lot of me's that can make sounds and albums and songs all by themselves. So hooray for modern technology. That's how I always look at it. But it also has crowded the marketplace, of course, as they all complain. There's so many new releases. How do you make a dent nowadays? You don't. You just keep putting stuff out there, and if it's good, hopefully somebody likes it. That's my theory, at least. I don't know. I don't have any money to blow on a massive marketing campaign just yet, that's for sure. So till then, I'll just keep spending it on gear to make music, because that's been fun. And with that, we're nearing the half-hour mark. I'm getting hungry. I should make dinner. Is there anything else? Oh, I do want to talk about an album of the week. I have that written down. I don't have a physical copy of it here. And it's not even, maybe you could argue, your typical album, because it's a greatest hits album. But I have been on an Aerosmith kick lately, because I promised somebody I'd sing some more Aerosmith songs at the next jam thing I go to. And I've been searching them up on iTunes and whatnot to listen to them, or Apple Music, you should call it, I guess. And a bunch of the ones I wanted are on a greatest hits album. So I'm like, oh, I'll just download that one, because there's even more songs that I like that I kind of forget about. Damn, man, there are so many Aerosmith hits. There's eras of Aerosmith, like a bunch of bands that have been around for this long, I think they're honestly the great American band next to Metallica, maybe, just in terms of longevity and reach and epicness, But anyways, there's eras to them in terms of they have an old school rock and roll sound, and then they have these big glam 80s pop ballad things, And I love the Gauntlet. But I have a real spot in my heart for the pop ballad, Jamie's Got a Gun, Love in an Elevator, the ones recorded in Vancouver, hometown hero vibe, thing. So the track list of this thing, it's 15 songs that I don't know if they're all number one hits or something, but it feels like it. Walk on Water is that's a new song, I guess, for this. So there you go, brand new song. Then Love in an Elevator. You know that song even if you don't know Aerosmith. It's Love in an Elevator. Ragdoll is like old school Aerosmith in my opinion in terms of vibe, even though it's on like Permanent Vacation, which is new school Aerosmith. I think it may be one of the first ones of that new school Aerosmith vibe. What It Takes to Let You Go. Like, holy shit, man. Those things are insane. Dude Looks Like a Lady. Dude Looks Like a Lady, even if you don't know the band. Janie's Got a Gun. Crying was like my favorite song when I was like 11. I remember I listened to that thing on loop. Amazing. These are vocal performances that are like just for the books, honestly, Steven Tyler. Good Lord. Blind Man, another new song. I don't know that one as much, honestly, because it was a new one for this thing. Deuces Are Wild. That's the one that I have sadly signed up to sing, and holy hell. I am going to be working on that one for the better part of a month, I think, to try to sing that in front of people. The Other Side, big hit. Crazy, big hit. Eat the Rich, big hit. Angel, big hit. And Living on the Edge, an epic 6-minute big hit. Come on. The band is just living on the edge. Oh. No, this is insane. The fact that a band put all those songs out. What's the time period between those things? Because, 1987, they started working at Little Mountain Sound in Vancouver, BC. That's like an hour away, 45 minutes, an hour away with traffic away from me. I have been in that building. I didn't do any recording there, but I got to go there once, and it was amazing. Shout out to my old guitar teacher before he became kind of a douche. That was the one with Dude Looks Like a Lady and all those things. Then, so it's like 87 to 93, I think, by the end of it. Oh, okay, they went back to LA. And then 94, they did the new songs. So all of those songs are from 87 to 94, essentially. That's insane. That's 15 what are pretty much number one. If they're not all number one, they're all Billboard hits. Good for you. Good for you, Aerosmith. In the what would be considered the twilight of another band's career. Because if you look at Dream On, that came out in 1973. So all of these songs are 10 years after the band has already been doing big things and putting out what are considered classic songs, Good for them. And they're still, like, when's the last Aerosmith release? Let's find out. I don't think they've put out, one of their biggest lifelong hits in the last few years, but they're still touring and sounding amazing. Back in the Saddle, oh God, there's so many huge hits that aren't even on there. Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Pink. Hello, Kitty. I know you love Aerosmith too. Looks Like a Lady. Yeah. Yeah. Looks Like a Lady. Good job. 2018, Deuces Are Wild, Farewell Tour. Okay, no, so I guess they're on their way down now. But with the Farewell Tour, they've well earned. Discography. Their last album was in 2012. So they were still, that's, how many decades is that? 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the noughties, you call them, I guess, and to the 2010s. Basically 50 years of kicking ass and taking names. Good for Aerosmith. That's my album of the week. Is you can listen to any Aerosmith album. They're all great. But if you listen to big ones, you get to hear the big ones off of a bunch of big albums. So go listen to big ones. Try to sing along in your car. You're going to sound like there's a frog stuck in your throat, or you'll be all coffee like I am right now. And with that, that's 33 minutes of the Rick Chappell podcast. Season 2, we're going shorter but sweeter. And Kevin's been napping the whole time. I'm sorry she wasn't cute enough for you guys. You know what? Let's bother her. That'll be the grand finale. Sorry, Kevin. Animal cruelty. You're so eepy. Come here. Come hang out. This is Kevin, season 2 debut. She's just in a sleepy mood. So, yeah. Take this opportunity to subscribe. Click on the other things that are on screen, maybe. There's probably another podcast episode. maybe a cover song or something. I'm going to feed this little caboodle and myself. See you guys later.